After just finishing Night Agent, I started watching another espionage action TV show, The Recruit, Season 2, and I have to say it was entertaining, but had some massive flaws. In addition, I didn't think it was as good as Night Agent, but after somewhat of a slow start, the show really picked up and had an entertaining ending, albeit there was some terrible writing in there. Now make no mistake, the show was carried by the characters and the setting, not the storyline. Now, to begin, I have to point out something that really bothered me in the final episode. In one of the final scenes, if you've seen it, main character Owen is helping Jung and his wife escape, and they run into the water and begin swimming toward a boat. Now, at this time, at least 30 Russian soldiers are chasing them. They run on the shore and begin firing at the trio with semi-automatic weapons, and not one bullet hits them. This was such disastrous writing and so unrealistic. It's really pretty incredible. Now, if you saw this scene, well, you know, sadly, they could have changed this sequence of events so easily. It made it so much more realistic. It's really embarrassing. I'd be so embarrassed if I was one of those writers. Now, in addition to this massive flaw, Owen's girlfriend, Nan, grabs the ship and begins searching for them. And needless to say, the odds of her pulling up right there as they're swimming in the frigid water as well, astronomically low. But once again, they had to write it this way for some reason. Now, one final flaw I want to point out, or one other flaw I do want to point out, I don't know if it's the last one, is that if the Russian military was chasing someone, especially a boat, a helicopter would have been deployed after the ship as well, and it would have shot it down within probably about 10 minutes, maybe less. Anyhow, prior to these events though, we see Owen and Jung trying to negotiate the release of Jung's wife or overtake the Japanese mafia. It doesn't happen because the Russian Coast Guard shows up. I'm not sure why the writers went this route and had Dawn and her team ditch them. I think the right call would have had Dawn and her team and Owen and Jung take out the mafia, rescue his wife, and then have to escape from the Russian military. It seems like they added the aforementioned really silly sequence of events just to kill time, but having the group running from the Russian military, it would have been a better story, and it would have been more realistic too. Now, the last episode definitely has some revelations and twists. I'll give the writers credit for giving us at least that. Nitschka is a double agent and kills Dawn, although I suspect Dawn is going to be back for season 3. Someone probably rescues her or something as she's floating up in that lake. Probably the most interesting thing, though, was the transformation we're seeing with Owen. In the early episodes in season 1, he's clearly always overwhelmed. He's the quirky lawyer. Now he's killing Russian soldiers with his bare hands and also invading secret Russian military sites. At the end of the day, though, he's still got this good guy thing about him, as he did this, of course, to save Jung's wife. Focusing in on one of the other surprises that, well, wasn't really a surprise to me was Hannah's boyfriend, who ends up being a spy. I personally saw this coming early on, a mile away, and think this was done just to keep Hannah in the show this season. They need to consider getting either rid of her or maybe giving her a more important role for season 3, because this was just a completely pointless storyline, I thought. Now, switching gears a bit, I want to discuss how the show seems to kind of quickly flip with its humor to being much more serious. We see the characters constantly telling jokes, but then there's this weird thing where the tempo of the show switches to serious very quickly. This didn't kill the show, but I think it did certainly hurt it in terms of the mood of the show seems to switch pretty rapidly from time to time. Although I have to say that the supporting characters were pretty good on the show, especially Janice, who has great chemistry with Owen. It seems that we're going to see Jung in season 3, but I think the show should not include him. His big motivation should be his family now, as he rescued his pregnant wife, and it's tough to imagine someone like that would want to be a spy again. I don't think that he really resonated with fans. He didn't have any sort of interesting personality to go with his, badass fighting skills. So I think that they need to drop him and have new supporting characters for the third season. That said, all in all, I thought this show, being unrealistic, it was still entertaining. It's still worth a watch. I would suggest watching it if you haven't seen it. Have you seen this? Let me know any comments, thoughts. Thanks for your time.